Okay. So thing is, we have kind of completed the behavioral analysis in module 1 and kind of the assembly language primer in module 2. And now we are in the module 3, where we will be actually kind of performing some of the objectives, like kind of recognizing packed malware and kind of what is packed malware, how to automate in a automated approach, how to unpack the malware, and then kind of how to manually unpack the malware, and then also kind of debug the packed executables. Okay, so this all thing will be clear in a minute. Okay, so thing is, for understanding this, what we are going to do is kind of we will be analyzing the brb bot uh, pack.zip. It's a similar malware that we have actually seen before in module 1, but this time this malware will be in packed version. Okay, and I hope you are aware like what the packed version means, where kind of I'll just quickly draw that. So suppose this, okay, so suppose this was the module 1 uh, brb bot.exe that we saw in module 1. So over here what you can tell is like, okay, in this section the all the the codes of the malware were kind of readable in kind of assembly language. Okay, but in module 3, the the malware that we will be analyzing is the same version of brb bot that we saw in module 1, but it will be kind of uh, packed malware. Okay, so how the packed malware will be, what a difference between the module 1 and the module 3 malware. The only difference will be a very slight one, and this will be something like this. Okay, so in the module in this one, actually the thing will be that the most of the portion of the malware will be actually encrypted or kind of encoded with some command. So thing is like, when we will load the new malware, when we load the new malware, the packed malware in kind of ida pro and all, so we won't be able to kind of do a static analysis of the assembly language and all, because the most of the part of the code will be encrypted. Okay, and thing is, there will be very little portion of the code of that malware that will be kind of in a decrypted format, and the functionality of this part will only be actually to decrypt this red area. And once this uh, blue part of the code is able to decrypt this part, okay, and like make it like this, and then it will, like, the actual code of the malware will start running. Okay, so is it clear what's the difference between the packed and non-packed malware? Any questions?
Yeah, but
Okay, great. So now let's quickly go to that.
so Pragyan, have you
Yes.
used a known packer, a common packer for this packing, or like custom packing for
Okay,
this?
so what I'm going to do is like, I will start with the known packer one version, where I will be like using this malware actually packed the UPX packer.
UPX. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And what will we do is like, later what once like we are like fully comfortable with the automated and manual approach of like kind of analyzing the UPX packed malware, then we will go to another malware sample, which will be like kind of, it will be packed, but we don't have any knowledge about how it's packed, or how what encryption algorithm is running over there, because in real life actually you will find that 99% of the case the encrypted part will be actually be customized one. It won't be the well-known one like UPX or something. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So but we will start with the UPX one, because just to get an idea how the things work. Okay,
Okay.
yeah. So let's quickly go. So what we will do is we will analyze the brb bot pack.zip and kind of we will execute it the same way, maybe dropping it in system32 folder and kind of running it with kind of admin privilege and all. So let's quickly go. So what are packers? Just normal definition. Packer are tools that compresses or encrypt the executable, the one that we, the red portion we saw. The packed executable decodes the original program into memory when it runs. So what will happen is over here, this red area will be kind of decoded and it will be placed in memory, the RAM memory. It won't be like any way like most of the malware, like similar, like 99% of the case, the packed reason when it will be decrypted won't be saved to the disk. It will be always the malware will try to load it in the memory, so that the it will be much more difficult for the analyst to kind of what you say get the malware for analysis, and also to evade the detection. Because if something, suppose the antivirus is running and it is doing a disk scanning, and so it won't save the decrypted file to a disk one, because then the antivirus might alert the analyst and all. Okay, so that's why it will try to always like put the thing in the memory area only. Okay, so let's go quickly. So this was the thing that we saw, like, okay, original program, and kind of when it is packed, it is something like unpacking code and packed program. So there are two sections, and when it runs, the unpack code actually the unpacking code actually unpack this part, the below part. Okay, the packed program. Okay, and that's how kind of it start running and then infect the system. Okay, so uh, this was something, I think, yeah, this was one of the link that I think I have shared last time, actually, the redbubble.com. So maybe you can to get an like idea of how the portable executable, the executable that we are seeing, what are the sections and all. So they are having a very good chart on that, like what are the sections and all. So maybe you can sometime maybe search on internet and get a overall idea, like what are different sections by which this portable executable is actually made of, like .text, .rss, .data, and all other things. Okay, so let's go. Now let's start the practical. So BRB load, we got this. Okay, let's do that. Let's quickly start the malware. Okay. And also thing is, like, we will be seeing some different other tools also, because like whenever you are getting a malware sample, sometime it might not be packed also, and sometime it might be packed. So you need to maybe check with certain tools that, okay, if this malware is a packed one or a non-packed one, and similarly you have to take a different approach. Okay, so let's quickly close this one. Don't save. Okay, so okay, and now let's go to the three. Okay, the sample is not here. Okay, just a minute. I will just load the sample over here. Next. Okay, so now we have the BRB bot pack.zip malware. Okay, and I will be sharing this sample today itself. Okay, so let's unpack it. The password is malware. Let's do it. And now we have this thing over here. Okay, so now let's quickly go to the jump to the notepad file. Okay, BRB bot is loaded, and we can maybe do some string searches on this one, and maybe try to see what all kind of just to get an idea, like, okay, what all maybe if there are any password, or if the malware is actually setting some registry keys and all, maybe persistence one and all. So that ideas we can get it quickly by running the strings on that. And that is one of the approach that is very easy, is actually kind of just quickly load that in IDA Pro. So even when we load in IDA Pro, maybe it will give a pop-up that maybe it's a decrypted one. Let's see. Yeah, so so it is detecting that maybe, like, okay, a lot of things are encrypted in that, so you might get a pop-up like that. Okay, and now let's go to the strings command. strings. And over here, we are actually not seeing, I think it's not loaded properly. Okay, so you can see there is like a header and all, like there is a, in the portable executable, there is a section called UPX. Okay, because like it was already packed with a UPX packer. And then what we are seeing is there's a very new thing. What we are seeing is we are not seeing any strings over there. It is totally blank. Okay, so because of this, we will not get any idea like what the malware functionality are by doing the string analysis. So that's one of the way to kind of predict that, okay, that this malware might be kind of a packed malware. Okay, and kind of even like suppose this malware was not packed with UPX and it was like packed with certain different packer, then also the strings window might give you, what will happen, it might give you one or two strings but not more than that, because majority of the portion of the code will be actually encrypted. Okay, so that's how you can differentiate between a packed malware and a non-packed malware. Okay, let's quickly close this one. Let's see other ways to kind of predict that, okay, if this malware is actually a packed one or not. So let's quickly go to the PDF. Okay, so BRB plot is loaded, and so one of the thing, actually one of the tool is also there is called as byte hist. Okay, so what I will do is I will quickly kind of open this one, and I will start byte hist. So let's see if I have the tool. Okay, I have the tool. So this is a byte hist. Okay, so what we'll do is kind of, we will quickly load the malware, and it will actually generate a graph for you. Okay, so with the graph, actually what it is telling is like we can see, if I know it's not that much visible, but let's kind of try to save that somewhere. Okay, so the thing is like what it actually tells is, with this graph, what you can tell is byte is generate a byte uses histogram. Okay, and showing you the frequency with which each byte value occur in a file. Okay, like suppose the executable is having certain bytes, so it will make a graph of that. Suppose the byte is suppose for the binary ASCII value A. Okay, so it will make a it will count the frequency of that byte, like A. So suppose A comes around 50 times. Suppose A is now 50 times. So what it will do is like for the A, it will make a plotting. So in the y-axis, you take it as the count label. Okay, and in the x-axis, you take it as the byte. Okay, so what will happen is like suppose for the A byte, it will tell, okay, what's the count. So if it is 50, so then this graph will be somewhat higher. If it is 10, then it will be somewhat lower. The bar graph will be somewhat lower. So this is actually called a histogram. Okay, and what we can assume from that is highly uniform distribution with charts that have few holes in them suggests that the file is packed. Okay, so what happened is like over here, what had happened is like there was a common encryption that happened over all of the code, and you are seeing that the frequency of the bytes is almost similar, and also there are no gaps over here. Okay, so gaps, I mean, is like maybe there are certain bytes maybe in the normal executable that count might be very low. Maybe the NOP sled 90 uh, byte value might be that maybe like 5 or 6. So there is nothing like that. It is almost kind of a uniform one. Okay, so by that we can assume one of the way it is like that we can assume that kind of the malware is actually packed. And let's quickly kind of try to kind of see like how the non-packed malware will look like. Okay, so let's quickly run that again, and let's go to the desktop and delta. Okay, so it is actually making the sections, it is actually making the graph for all the sections. Like for the I data, it is making a different graph. For code, the dot text section, it is making a different graph. So what you can presume, that you can see that this is the code section, the dot text section. So you can see it is not uniform. right? Some of the bar graph are actually higher, you can see. So this kind of resemble that, okay, this is a non-packed malware. But if I kind of check the uniform one, the packed one, you can see it is very uniform. Okay, so any questions still now in how we can assume, how we can kind of analyze if the malware is packed by just using the histogram of the bytes? Any questions?
No, but
No, Pragyan. So, is this the only tool that tells us which malware is packed and which one is not?
No, it's not the single one, because as you can as you have seen, like, okay, this doesn't classify that accurately. Okay, there are, you can tell with a certain kind of accuracy, maybe 90% accuracy, that okay, this malware is packed. But it is not possible to tell it by 100% accuracy. So we will be kind of using certain other tools to kind of predict, okay, if this malware is packed or not. But this is one of the way you can quickly kind of check with the histogram thing. Okay, so let's see other ways to kind of see how if this malware is packed or not. Okay, so the other way, as I have already showcased in the IDA Pro. So what we did is, like, when we load the brb border.exe, you have seen that the strings were actually quite low. It was actually 0 in this case. Okay, so it was there were no human readable string present in the sample. Okay, but for other malware that we have seen, the delta, or like the other malware sample that we worked on, so we have seen that there were like maybe more than 200 strings that were visible, and we were able to kind of check the analysis. We were able to do an analysis of that malware just by using the strings command. But in this case, when we loaded this thing into IDA Pro, we saw that the strings detected is actually 0. And you can tell that's one of the accurate way, actually, like maybe with 100% accuracy, you can tell, okay, if this malware is packed or not. Okay, okay. So now there is another way also, like using the P scanner in Linux VM. Okay, so what you can do is you can, again, like the similar to, I think we have seen that in module 1. So what you can do is you can run the P scanner in the Ramnex VM and kind of just give it a part of the malware, and it can actually tell you, like, okay, if that malware is packed or not. It will do the analysis, and it will accurately tell you. Okay, and the other way in Windows is actually to use the tool called exe info pe. Okay, so let's see how this works, and if I have this tool right now. Okay, oh yeah, I have the tool. Let's open that and let's give the file. Okay, and now you can see that it is telling you that it is a UPX packed malware. Okay, it kind of it has detected that, okay, this is a packed malware, because it is showing you the name, and then it is also giving you a hint, the help hint, by how you can unpack this malware. So one of the way you can unpack a UPX packed malware is just type upx.exe after installing it, and then give the -d and then the path of the file, and it will unpack the malware for you. Okay, so that's the easy way to kind of detect that using this tool exe info pe. You can actually tell that what's the so it can detect if it is packed, and what is the packer that is used for that malware. It will also tell you and how to kind of do that, how to unpack it. But this software will only be useful when kind of thing is like the malware is packed with some known packers. But it will actually fail when you are like using any customized, or you have developed your own packer. So it won't be able to detect that in no way. Okay, so that's one of the thing. So recently, actually, kind of, I was analyzing a malware for an incident, and thing was like, I think 2 or 3 days back, as I told you, and the thing was like the malware was actually packed with some customized packer that the malware writer has written, and apart from that, it was also actually utilizing the forensic method, anti analysis method. So thing was like, if you run that in VM, you run that in IDA Pro and all. it will actually kind of detect that and kind of not it will not run. Okay, so I was analyzing that, I was handling that malware case, and over there thing was like, again, like in that case, the sure sort way to uh, kind of analyze that malware is actually to kind of get your hands on in the assembly language, load it in IDA Pro, and then quickly kind of see, okay, at check the all of the assembly language one by one, or maybe kind of just kind of run the malware and just see the assembly language, and kind of tell, okay, this is the point from where the malware will be kind of decrypted, and from here it will be start. If you're able to find that in assembly language, you put a breakpoint on at that portion, and then kind of start analyzing the malware. So we will see those all things today in the today class itself, how to kind of do those things, like how to kind of work with a malware which is like maybe packed with an unknown packer, and how to analyze, how to decrypt that, how to unpack that using IDA Pro just by using the assembly language power. Okay, so with the assembly language, actually you can there is nothing like you can't do. Okay, if like 100 of the tools fail, the assembly language will be like always the kind of the uh, what to say, the method that will always give you 100% success in kind of analyzing the malware. There is nothing that you can that can stop you if you have very good background in assembly language. Okay, so let's go further. Okay, so these are something like identifying the packer help you to access the nature of the challenge ahead of you. So here I know that, okay, it's a UPX packer. So I know what's the way I need to take over here. Okay, I won't be like unpacking it with different packer, but I know that is the packer is UPX. I'll be going with that direction only. And you can look at strings under structure of executable file. But here the thing was like all of the strings were totally hidden. Okay, and you can also use specialized tool like file entropy. So entropy actually means is like suppose you kind of encrypted a file, you have made a file and you have encrypted with a very basic, like suppose AES 128-bit encryption. So what will happen, like if you calculate the entropy, if there is software that gives you the entropy value of any file that you drop, so what will happen for AES 128-bit, what will happen, the entropy value will actually come around 4 point something. Okay, and if you are kind of, you have encrypted any file with like AES 256-bit for an example, and if you just calculate the entropy of that, it will actually come as more than 6.3 or something, which means that the file decrypting the file is very hard. Okay, so using that approach also, if you calculate the entropy of a packed malware, it will be actually higher, and by that you can tell, okay, yeah, if it is packed or not packed. So now you know, like, okay, what are different ways you can predict that, okay, if that malware is packed or not, and kind of, and then decide like on which way you want to go. Okay, so the automated approach of kind of unpacking the UPX packed malware is just like this. Okay, so let's quickly do that and see what's the difference it will uh, uh, take out when we load the unpacked malware in IDA Pro. Okay, so the command is upx-d-o. So and then, okay, so let's do that. So I just pressed Alt D and then CMD. I'm in that path. And now let's do UPX. Let's see if it is installed over here. So it is installed. So let's do CLS upx-d-o brb unpacked .exe. Okay, and then the original file brb.exe, and now it is unpacked. So that was the easy way actually to kind of unpack the UPX malware, and now it is unpacked, and you can even see that the size is actually now more, it is 19 kb. And now let load this one in the IDA Pro. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, guys. So let's now load the unpacked one in the IDA Pro. And quickly go to that. And let's load the unpacked one. So now you see you have not got the pop-up of that it was telling it. And now if I see the strings window, you can see that now you can see the whole lot of strings over here. So it was 0 previously, and now it is like you can get all the things like, okay, it is connecting with some URL. There's a brb-config.temp that we saw previously. It is also kind of having it is trying to be persistence. So it is accessing this registry key, current version run. It is also communicating with internet with some HTTP 1.1 protocol. It is posting them data. The user agent used by this malware is Mozilla 4.0. By these are the IOCs that you can quickly prepare, and then a lot of other kind of functions that it might be calling from other Windows based DLL. It is also having the crypting functionality like crypt, decrypt, and all that we actually seen before in module 1. And now you can tell that I hope now it is very clear that how you can tell like if the malware is packed or not, just by now seeing the difference between the strings window for the packed one and the unpacked one, right? Any questions till now?
No, Pragya.
Great. Okay, great. Okay, so okay, guys. So now let's go to the next section. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now guys, I will be talking about the ASLR again. That is, the full form is address space layout randomization. Okay, and now thing is, it will be actually needed because just let me scroll a bit. Okay, so what will happen is kind of because of this so the reason why the ASLR actually came into discussion is because thing is actually just give me 1 minute. Okay, it's fine. So thing is, because the UPX is actually kind of what it does is when it doesn't work quietly good with the ASLR technique. Okay, so what it will do is, I will just let you know what it will do is, so suppose this malware was packed with a UPX and this was the unpacking portion. Okay. So in the unpacking portion, what happens is like when it is, when it kind of, when it decided to, okay, decrypt this portion, the red one. So what it will do is actually kind of then this part of code, the blue part of code will actually then point to a hard coded value of the area in memory where this portion, the red part is actually in the decrypted form. Okay. And any questions? I hope you got it right. And any questions in that? Am I audible? Hello.
Yeah, Pragyan.
Okay. Okay. So any questions in that? As I told that, okay, this blue portion will actually decrypt this red portion in the memory, and then this blue portion will actually point to a hard coded value from where it expect this red portion is decrypted in the memory, right? Any confusion in that?
No, Pragyan.
Okay, so the thing is when the ASLR protection is active in the Windows, so what will happen, suppose this UPX unpacked part of code is telling, okay, suppose the decrypted part will start at 1000. Okay, so it's not 1000, but what we'll do, like the Windows will actually maybe load that decrypted portion in the offset 1000 1500 offset. Okay, so what will happen, because of that the malware will actually terminate, because it was expecting the decrypted portion of the code in starting from 1000 offset in memory, but this thing got loaded by the Windows ASLR because of the window ASLR protection getting active at offset number 1500. Okay, because of which the malware won't be able to run. The decrypted portion won't be able to start executing. Okay, so this is a problem with the UPX. Okay, and now how you can evade that? The what you need to do is actually you need to kind of turn off the ASLR for this malware, brb.exe. Okay, so what will happen now if you turn off the ASLR protection for this software? What it will do is when this portion, the red portion, will be decrypted, it will be loaded at the offset 1000 only. It will not be loaded at some random value, because ASLR, which actually means address space layout randomization, so Windows actually randomizes the offset entry point of the decrypted part of the executable. So because it is turned off, it will now be it will now be kind of loaded at a particular hard-coded offset, which the UPX already know, maybe the 1000, and then how it will work properly. So whenever kind of just keep in mind, whenever kind of you are kind of analyzing any packed malware, you always set the ASLR protection off for that malware before doing any analysis. Otherwise, it might lead to you to confusion that, okay, the malware was running, but kind of it is terminating after some time. Why is that? So it might, the major cause maybe the ASLR. Okay, so to turn off the ASLR, there are different techniques. Okay, so let's go to techniques one by one. Okay. So let's see that. Okay, so what we'll do is quickly, so there is option called check for image based field in P Studio. This is where the malware wants to load it exe in the allocated memory space. So where the malware wants, the kind of the UPX wants that, okay, after unpacking the code, at which offset to kind of load the malware. So it will be actually present in this field. When we will kind of parse that executable in P Studio, we can see that field in the image based field. Okay, so let's try that if you're able to see it now. PE Studio. Let's open the file. Verify.exe. Yeah, so you can see this is the value, the image base. Okay, so what this means is that the UPX, when it will like kind of decoding the malware, it will be it wants that part of code to actually load at this particular offset in the memory. Okay, but what happened, because of the ASLR protection, this image base field is actually not taken into consideration anymore by the Windows. Okay, it won't kind of take care, it won't care about this field. Okay, it will just load anywhere it wants. Okay, and that's where the malware might crash while running. Okay, so thing is that we want the window to tell, okay, don't kind of disregard this value, care about this value, load the memory, load the malware, and at this particular offset only. Okay, so that's what you can do is kind of you can do that by disabling the ASLR value. Okay, so let's see how you can do that. Okay, so let's quickly go to the PDF. Okay, so check for image base field. This is where the malware loads the exe. Let's do that now. Okay, so there is one other tool called CFF Explorer. Okay, so let's use this tool and see how you can kind of turn off the ASLR for that malware. Okay, so let's do that. And before that, let me take the snapshot of this one, deal one. Okay, the snapshot has been taken. And what I want is actually just to run this malware once. And before that, I will start the process hacker. And let's run this malware, brb.exe. So it is running now, and you can see that ASLR is active for this malware. You can see that ASLR flag is on, right? So that's where the image-based field won't be taken care, and it will load the malware at any random offset in the memory. This is just to protect the software for actually getting exploited. So this is one of the protection that is enabled by the Windows. So here it is running kind of in with the ASLR protection. Let's terminate that. Uh-oh. Let's run the explorer.exe again, and now let's terminate tree. Yeah, it's gone. And now let's kind of do that with the CFF Explorer tool to remove that thing. So let's do CFF, and now quickly load the file. Okay, and now you go to the the optional header, and let's quickly go to, let's see which field we need to see. Okay, optional header. Okay, let's do that. Okay, okay, just give me 1 minute. Okay, so let's, yeah. So here you can actually kind of turn off the ASLR. Okay, so in the, you go to the optional header, go to the DLL characteristics, and you'll get an option called click here. So click that, and then kind of you need to uncheck something, and that is actually kind of uncheck the DLL can move. Okay, so uncheck this part. Okay, and then press OK, and then save it, overwrite original file. Yes. Okay, and now let's confirm that if it is actually kind of done. So let's open that software again, and let's go to the optional header, go to the click here, and you can see it is unchecked now. So we are confirmed, and now let's quickly confirm that ASLR is actually kind of uh, unchecked or not. So let's start the process hacker again, and let's run the malware, and you can see now that ASLR flag is not here, right? So now that we are confirmed that now the ASLR protection is not active for this malware. Okay, so any questions still now, guys, from any of you?
No problem.
Okay, okay. Okay. So now what we'll do is kind of, we know that how to kind of stop the ASLR protection for this malware. So there are other ways too. Okay. So one of the ways actually kind of from the command line. So suppose you are writing a Python script or some coding, you are not willing to kind of use the GUI in your code. So you can do execute the same thing by using the command line. Okay. And what you can do is you can just go over here, and you can actually just press Alt D CMD Swiggy. Okay, guys. So now you can do is like set DLL. Okay, guys, just a minute. Okay, guys. So there's a command called set DLL characteristics, and then you need to give the option -d. So let's give that -d, and then the name of the file, the brb.exe. Okay, just you can do that, and what it will actually do is like whatever steps that we followed using the CF Explorer, it will actually do that. You can achieve that just by using the command line. Okay, so what you do is like no matter what malware is you are analyzing, either it is packed or not packed, always try to kind of use this option for any malware, no matter it is packed or not. What will do, it will actually do a SLR turn off for that malware, and then you can analyze it very properly in a proper way in IDA Pro and all. Okay, it won't terminate because of this ASLR. Okay, so always implement that for any malware sample. Okay, so that's one of the way. And now let's quickly go to the next section. So there is another actually link. I will just share that with you guys. Uh, Allow, and I'll just quickly share here on Zoom. Okay, so this is one of the URL where what you can do is you can kind of like, suppose you have any malware, you don't know what this malware is, or what you can do is kind of you can load the malware in this website. Okay, this is maintained by some university. Okay, and kind of you can submit that, you can give your email address, and once this portal is actually able to kind of unpack that, they will do some analysis of their own. Maybe they have developed some automated approach. Once they have done that, then they will email you back with the link to download the unpacked malware for your analysis. Okay, the only thing is there are two things. First thing is like it may not work for all the cases, it may work for 50% of the cases. And the second thing is it is somewhat risky to kind of upload every malware sample that you get in your company. So suppose there was a directed attack in your company, and kind of you got the sample and you uploaded over here, maybe the attacker has some link with this their portal, and by this they can know that okay, you guys had got hold of the sample and you are analyzing, and then maybe he will or she will kind of approach a different way to kind of attack your company. So always kind of be cautious while uploading any malware. If it is confidential, don't upload that. Okay, so that's one technique to unpack any malware. Okay, and now let's manually unpack the malware. So think of like we saw the automated approach how to unpack the malware. We kind of just execute the command upx-d and all and got the malware, but that won't be the case in real life. So now what we will do is kind of we'll unpack the malware manually by using the assembly language primer. Okay, so okay, so any questions still now, guys, from any of you in any of the section?
No, Pragyan.
Okay, so what I will do now is I will take a 5-minute break, and then I will continue with the unpacking the malware in a manual approach. Okay, resume the recording. Okay, so I have just resumed the recording, and I just forgot that. What I will do is I will quickly showcase you quickly like how I use the Scylla tool. Okay, so let's quickly go to the screen, and what we'll do is I will delete this and let's run. So I hope the brbot.exe is running. Let's see that the brbot.exe is not running. So what we will do is we will quickly run the packed malware, and we will confirm that it is running as seen in the process hacker. brbot.exe is running, and then we will quickly kind of go to desktop, go to desktop, and then quickly execute the Scylla. Okay, and as I told, Scylla actually will help you kind of dump the process from the memory. In the memory, the process will be actually running in a decrypted format, in an unpacked format. So I will quickly run this. I will quickly click the like pick the bribot.exe, and then I will do a IIT auto search, and IIT found this where all the imports IIT found, and let's get the imports. So these are the imports now. Okay, and then what we'll do is like we will dump that over here. Okay, we'll dump that, and here also you can, as I told you, if you get a new entry OOP entry point, and suppose this entry point detected by Scylla was wrong based on your analysis, you can change these things from here, and then you can like kind of dump that again in the in your hard drive. Okay, so now let's go to the brbot.exe, and I have the dump. It is a 32 KB, and what I will do is I will quickly load that in add a pro, and quickly load that. And now you will be very happy to see that, okay, we have now all the strings, we have a lot of functions that were detected. Okay, and you can analyze any sample, any functions of your interest based on your analysis. Okay, so these are the thing by which you can kind of even without kind of investing time in assembly language, you can kind of run the unpacked malware from the memory. Okay, so now let's quickly close this. Don't save. Okay, and let's terminate this one. Okay, and let's close this. So now what we'll do is kind of we will load this malware in the Oli debug. So let's do that. Oli debug.exe, we'll load this. Okay, we need to run that as an admin mode. Let's quickly do that. So we are loading the packed malware. Okay, it's not a unpacked one, it's a packed one. Okay, and this is the section. And now let me know from here, should I start analyzing the code from here? Will this be a correct approach or not? Any guesses? Any guesses from you guys?
It's in NTDLL, not the
Yes.
main malware.
Yeah, that's correct. The correct answer. So we will first kind of go to the executable and pick our bribot.exe, so that we are not wasting time in analyzing any DLL file. Okay, and now we are in the bribot.exe, and now what happens in the UPX is actually when the UPX actually kind of, as I told, that there will be a unpacked code that will unpack this portion, the red portion. So when this part of code actually ends the boundary, at the boundary what happened, like there are a lot of zeros that are filled by the packets in the 0 bytes and all. Okay, that tells, okay, that actually in the UPX packet, that tells that this is the block of code that does the unpacking of the red one. Okay, so there will be a lot of zeros filled in the boundary area. Okay, for the UPX packet only. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll quickly see, like, okay, at what portion of where we can see a lot of kind of uh, code where where we can see the boundary of the UPX packer. Okay, so let's quickly check this out. Okay, yeah. So here we are. Okay, so you can see there are a lot of zeros over here. Okay, and what happened is, just above that you will find a jump instruction at 9245 offset. You can see that there is jump instruction. So actually what happened is, like in UPX, what happened, just before the area of zeros you will find a jump instruction, and this actually tells you that, okay, when this red part will be decrypted, okay, that at this moment of time it will be decrypted at this particular offset. It was already decrypted, and then from here the execution will actually jump to that decrypted area from this offset. Okay, so if you do a breakpoint over here, so okay, so what will happen is like if you run this, what will happen, the code red part will, the red part thing will be decrypted, but it won't be executed. It will be executed at this particular offset only. Okay, so what will happen is like we will kind of run the malware and we will hit this breakpoint, and now in the memory at this particular offset 10034 CD, actually we have the sample of the malware in an unpacked way. Okay, so if you run this, and the other thing is, I just want to let you know, in Oli debug, whenever you try to run that, you might get a pop-up like this, like to automate the analysis and all. Always don't rely on this, and always click no for that. Okay, and what will happen is like it will run, and then it had some, it is in pause state. Just click on run again, and it will hit the breakpoint over here. Okay, so now we have hit the breakpoint. So actually thing is, at this stage the red portion is in decrypted part in the memory, and now this thing jump will actually take you to that starting code of that memory, of that area of malware, which was the actual area that is kind of contains the malicious code. Okay, so what we'll do is, for this class we will hold till this section. We will stop till this point, and from the next class what we'll do is, now we will start from this 9245 offset, and we will then try to see how we can see the actual malware that is present in the memory, how we can dump that in the, disk. And the other thing also is like, you now have the uh, entry point over here, the entry point from where the malware decrypted code will start, that is 10034 CD. So what you can do is, when I was using the Scylla exe file where I was like kind of dumping the thing from the memory area, so as I have showcased you the OEP entry point, so the OEP entry point was something as this. So let's, okay, so OEP entry point is somewhat wrong over here, and what you can do is like, you can copy this part 10034 CD, and you can what you can do is, you can quickly write over here that 10034 CD. So this is the correct entry point now that you have got, and then you dump that from the memory. Okay, and that's how you can, maybe you are like much, you'll be actually much more accurate in analyzing your malware, what is the entry point and all. So what I will do is, I will stop at this point, and in next portion we will try to go explore the Oli debug a bit more, and then kind of dump the malware from the memory area using the IDA Pro. There's a plugin called Oli debug EX. Okay, Oli debug dump EX. So we will use that plugin to dump the malware from the Oli debug interface. Okay, so any questions guys till now? I know that this is a short discussion today, but any questions till now? I hope this thing was clear, the one I showcased in the Oli debug.
Yeah, Pragyan,
Yeah,
it's very.
Pragyan. Yeah.
Okay, then I will stop for today, and I will share the video and kind of let you know when next class is. Okay,
Okay,
Sure,
Pragyan.
Pragyan.
yeah, thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot, Pragyan.
Thanks, yeah, thanks.